Hola niños, ¿cómo están? Today we have another one of those extra letters of the alphabet in Spanish. Today's letter is the letter ñ. Ñ. That little squiggly line on the top of the N is called a tilde, and it makes the N say a ñ sound instead of a n sound like in English. Now there's not too many words in Spanish that begin with the letter ñ, but there are a lot of words that have an ñ somewhere in the middle. So we'll look at a mixture of both of those kinds of words. First we have a ostrich. Now this name comes from a different language, which is called Guarani, the language that they speak in Paraguay. And so the word for ostrich in Spanish is not actually a Spanish word. It's a Guarani word, but it starts with the letter ñ, and the word is ñandú. Ñandú. Next we have a couple of words that have an ñ somewhere in the middle. I think you probably know what this is. It's called a piñata. Piñata. Next we have a spider. A spider is called an araña. Araña. Next we have a pineapple. A pineapple is called a piña. Piña. So all of those words have an ñ in there somewhere. Now let's look at a couple of people whose names have an ñ in it. First we have Carlos Peña. Carlos Peña used to be the first baseman for the Tampa Bay Rays, but he just recently got traded to the Chicago Cubs. But he's still a great baseball player. Carlos Peña was born in the Dominican Republic, and he spoke Spanish until he was 12 years old. At 12 years old, he moved to the state of Massachusetts and went to school and was one of the only people at his school that spoke Spanish. So in order to make some new friends, he started playing baseball. And he got to be a really great baseball player, but it's also how he learned how to speak English and how he learned how to fit in his new country of the United States. So that's Carlos Peña. Next, we have John Quiñones. Quiñones. Even though he looks like kind of a stern man in this picture, John Quiñones is a news reporter. And the cool thing about him is that he was born in Mexico, and he also spoke Spanish. But he learned how to speak English so well and so perfectly that they hired him to be a newscaster on the national news, which is a pretty tough job. So because he makes his living speaking, he has to be able to speak English really well and really clearly. So it's pretty amazing that he can speak two languages that perfectly, and he's able to be a newscaster. Last, we have ñandutí. Ñandutí is another Guarani word. Remember that Guarani is the language that they speak in Paraguay. The word ñandutí comes from the word araña, which means spider. Ñandutí is a type of lace that they make in Paraguay. It's very, very colorful and very beautiful, but it's difficult to make. You have to make it by hand, and you make it with very thin little threads that could break very easily if you're not careful. So women will weave these lace patterns together, and then you can even make big things out of it like a dress or even a tablecloth or curtains. It's beautiful, beautiful lace, but it reminds them of the fine lace of a spider web. And in fact, that's the story of supposedly where it came from. That somebody saw a spider web and thought it was so beautiful, they wished they could touch it and pick it up. So they made this lace that was able to be picked up that kind of looks like a spider web, but I think it's even more beautiful than a spider web because it's so colorful and bright. And so that's what we'll talk about today is ñandutí, and we'll even try to make some of our own. And that's all for today. Adios, amigos.